take some time to thank you and let you know just how you make me proud. And the times make up for the bad ones. I see you trying and I don't know how. You keep up with me when you're working, switch your timing. When our schedules aren't aligning, that's a sign that it's okay to finally tell the world that you are more than enough, enough for me.
Hi, welcome to the Flock Theory Podcast. Today we have the infamous Kathy, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her life as an entrepreneur and, business owner, how she got started, what life looked like for her beforehand, then how it looked during her owning her businesses and how it looks now. And she's going to give us a few little tips on things you want to make sure you have in place as an entrepreneur or a business owner so that your future looks successful when it's all said and done. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Kathy. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you, Terry. How are you?
I'm all right. So Kathy, can you tell us a little bit about what life looked like for you before you became a franchise owner?
Sure. So, once I graduated college and I wasn't quite exactly sure what it is I wanted to do, I went and got a job at Higbee's, if y'all remember. Higbee's, which is now Dillard's. And like a lot of people, that first job, you think you're going to be there for a short period of time. And for me, it turned into a career. Retailing was a career for me for 20 years. I started off as a sales associate at Dillard's, and then I moved into the management program at May Company, and I was an assistant buyer, and then I went out to the stores and moved up the ranks in the stores organization and eventually became a general manager of a large store. It was 225 employees, and we did about $45 million a year. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the energy. I loved the fast pace. I liked the customer service. But then after 20 years of working all the holidays, and we did all these big sale events multiple times during the month, I got a little bit burned out. However, those 20 years gave me a lot of solid business experience. Which then set me up for success in the second career, which was being a franchisee for Great Clips. And my husband and I own 5 salons, which I recently sold. I got out of business just in October of 2025, and now I'm retired and living the dream, as we say. But my recommendation would be, and I love being a business owner. It gives you a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility, even though it certainly isn't less hours, right? Because, you can work on your computer any hour of the day or night. You can problem solve any hour of the day or night. Your business is open. At that time, we were open till like 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And so the phone's always ringing, and we open it 8 on Saturdays, and so you're always connected, so the hours are less, but the flexibility is greater because you can take the afternoon off and then pick up your business later in the day. But the first 20 years of learning all the aspects of business and managing people, right? That's probably the hardest thing. that a business leader, manager has to do is deal with people. Internal people, which is all of your employees, and then the external people, which are all of your customers. And so, like I said, my last job in retail, which had the 225 employees and a couple 100,000 square feet, it was like how to manage all of that, how to manage the human resources, how to manage the expenses, how to manage the merchandising setup, the product placement, the movement, this, that, and the other. It was complex, but it was awesome, and I loved it. Going into franchising, my husband and I, we did a lot of research on trying to figure out which business we wanted to get into. So we went to a franchise expo in Washington, D.C., where they had a couple, I think at least 100 or more different franchise organizations represented there. You learn a lot that way. You realize how many businesses are actually franchises, which you never would have thought of before. I had no idea so many are franchises. And then we went to, they have like business brokers that you can connect with who will present to you different franchise opportunities and share more in-depth details about each of them. So we did that. And then we narrowed it down to a couple, and then we got on the road and went and visited with different franchisees in the different businesses in a couple different states. We, like far south is Florida. We stopped in Kentucky or Tennessee to talk with a few. And we had also watched some videotapes of the different organizations. We landed on Bright Cliffs because everything that tape talked about is what we were looking for. As it turns out, it was a little bit more complex than what that tape had projected, but that's okay. And they no longer make it sound as easy as they did back then. So all of that being said, my advice would be to get experience on somebody else's dime. If you can get to business ownership, that's a great goal to have because you're more in control of your life. More in control of your time, more in control of your earnings, right? You're not depending on somebody else to decide whether you should get a bonus or you should get a raise. You're generating your own income. Get the experience on somebody else's dime, and then take that experience with you and work to do your own thing.
So how long did you guys have the franchise?
26 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why now? Why did you retire?
Well, because of my age, for starters. And I lost my husband 5 years ago. And we were equal partners in the business. I took care of running the salons, and he ran the back half, paying the rents, negotiating leases, interacting with Bright Cliffs corporate, let's say, on certain things. And so when he passed away, I then had the whole ball of wax to have to manage or organize, and it was very stressful there for a bit until I got it all figured out. And I had set a goal to reach a certain stage when I knew I wanted to sell, and then at some point last year I said, well, why did I set that?
Right.
How did I come up with that? And I realized I didn't have to have that as my end date. It could be now. It could be sooner. And that's when I started looking at my exit strategy. And I spent, maybe 9 months getting comfortable with how was I going to pay whatever bills I had. As it turns out, it is a transition to go from getting a paycheck to not, and kind of getting through that transition. But yeah, it was time. It was time.
So for people that are looking to start businesses, what are some realistic things you feel they should expect or prepare to do? Like, you guys had a beginning goal, you had a middle. Your middle was when your husband died, but then you had an end game. You had an exit strategy. But in within all of that, what can you tell people as far as um, financially stabilizing the business where they don't spend too much money, they don't over like I know that you always got to have something to put back in because you have to pay bills,
Yep.
you have to buy supplies, and things of that nature. So then you have to pay the people that work for you. So what does that look like?
Okay, so first of all, before I got into franchising, by working for somebody else and saving, being on a really solid savings plan, I was able to leave that corporate environment and have enough money to ride the tide until we could get our arms around this new business model. So you got to have a financial cushion. You know, most people say you got to have 6 months of emergency funds. You definitely have to have at least 6 months of emergency funds because you're going, and it might be more because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You think you know, but you don't. For us, it was a completely different business. We had all sorts of customer service experience, but we didn't know anything about cutting a hair. We didn't know anything about hairstylists. We knew all about the retail folks, but we didn't know about hairstylists. And so that was a big learning curve for both of us, even though we had a lot of experience. So you got to save a lot of money, and you got to have a good solid base before you jump into doing your own thing. As I've told Terry before, you got to go cheap. You really, really have to watch your expenses. Go and you got to be disciplined that way. It's so easy. You want to buy this, you want to buy that, you want to outfit your office, you want to do something to make a difference in the salons. The stylists want this, they want that, and you could just spend yourself out of business. Okay, and there are business cycles, and if you're new at the game and you aren't familiar with what those cycles are, right? Your business may slow down, and so you don't have that cash coming in that you had the last 3 months in a row. So you have to be prepared to make it through the prosperous months and the tight months. And so you have to cycle through that to know your business flow. So what do? You get familiar with the accounting software, so you're keeping track of your revenue, you're keeping track of all of your expenses, and you go cheap until you really understand the rhythm of that. What else?
So do you feel it's better to have the account software as opposed to having an accountant? So the software saves you money because you're probably just paying a subscription, as opposed to hiring an accountant.
Oh yeah, you can't afford to hire an accountant.
Okay.
Cannot afford to hire an accountant. And so I have somebody who does our business taxes, right? After my husband passed away, I changed companies because we were paying a lot of money for that, right? That's one way I was able to cut a big chunk of expenses. But even the accountant who does the taxes, so he's a CPA, so he's tax certified. He doesn't do my accounting. If I had him do my accounting, my bill would be astronomical.
Wow.
I do all the accounting. I put all the entries into QuickBooks, which is basically reconciling my checking account every month, right? I'm putting the money in, I'm paying all the bills, I make sure it balances. I do all of that, and then he just fills out all the tax paperwork. And he's looking for odd things that are in the books that he might have a couple questions for, and he might make a few adjustments. I don't know how to do depreciation, right? I don't know how to fill out those complex tax forms. And that's what I'm paying him to do. I do everything else. You cannot afford an accountant. That's the bottom line. And QuickBooks, it's not cheap either. So if you can, I don't know, set up your system, maybe there's another software. Well, QuickBooks is the best. Everybody in the accounting world is familiar with QuickBooks, so I would recommend it. But that can run you $1,000 a year.
Wow.
Okay, or $1,000 every 2 years for their subscription. But if you're just getting started through QuickBooks, you can run your payroll through that, so you don't have to have a separate payroll company. That's going to save you money, right? But if you're totally at a loss and you don't understand accounting whatsoever, then you're going to go with QuickBooks, and somebody's going to have to teach you what those entries are all about. But you got to, like I said, my husband passed away. I got rid of, the expensive accountant, and mine's just as good. But, he's not national. He lives, 15 minutes away, which is more convenient. You got to find all of those cost-saving opportunities because things will spiral out of control.
So now that you're retired, what are your plans like? Are you planning to do anything like a nonprofit or anything of that nature?
Well, I looked into starting a nonprofit, and I was using ChatGPT, which is absolutely amazing. I was like, wow, it will walk you through everything, which is absolutely incredible. And it isn't until you've maxed it out that it's like, could you pay us? Once a month if you're going to be using it this often, and I was because I thought I would be. But now that I'm not, I also cut that back because I don't want to be paying the $20 a month. But this is, I just retired in the end of October.
Yeah.
And I thought, what am I doing? I'm trying to get myself all locked into more commitments and more responsibilities. So I'm not going to go any further into that right now. I'm enjoying my first year.
Okay.
My first year off. And I've been doing some traveling, trying to cycle through my first year of no income.
Okay.
Right? Because I want to do all this traveling, and then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I gotta paint the barn out there, factor in that expense. I have a fence, and I need some work on the gates. Oh, I better factor in that expense. This, that, and the other, which I'd rather just be spending on having fun.
Right.
But that's why, you know what? You got to cycle through, know what those challenges are. So you got to go cheap. So I'm trying to, what are my cheap opportunities? I switched up all my cables. So I'm not paying those crazy bills. Same with the internet. Same with it. Wherever I could reduce my expenses, that's what I did. So I'm going to give it a year, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do.
Okay, so you want to travel.
Yep.
But in the meantime and in between time, what is a day for you where you're like, oh, I really enjoyed my day? Like, what are some extracurricular things that you're doing to not get bored?
I'm not bored. No.
Okay.
I'm not bored. And people say, do you miss the business? And I say, no, absolutely not. I'm not bored. I love that my calendar is my calendar, that whatever is on there is what I put on there and not what somebody else, is requiring me to do. A really great day for me is I wake up, I have my coffee, I'm chill, I can watch the news. Right now I've been spending time outside in the yard, which I don't really like yard work, but I'm like, maybe this is the first time I've ever really had the time to get out there when I want to. And, we'll see if I change my mind about it. And I love to get together with friends for dinner. The people that I hang around with love to eat. So, we'll all show up if we don't have to cook,
Mm-hmm.
and we can eat. And I love, watching a great movie. I love reading a good book.
Mm-hmm.
But the best thing about a great day is that nobody is messing with what I want to do. It's
Mhm.
my day now.
Gotcha.
It's not a calendar that I had to put together because I have all these other commitments. It's my day, and I really like that.
Okay, so thinking about your past, is there anything you wish you would have done differently?
Anything I wish I had done differently? I wish I would have gotten out of the corporate world sooner. Because being your own boss is really the way to go. If you can do that, I highly recommend it because you create your own wealth. Okay? You are your own corporation. You have your own values. You have your own way of doing things. You have your own challenges. You create your own success. As a franchisee, you have to do it within the franchisor's set of rules and guidelines. But ownership is independence. And I wish I would have gotten out of the corporate world sooner. But I value the experience that I got in those first 20 years. I just wish I would have hopped out like 10 years earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So say, a person is fresh out of college.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking to start their own business.
Mm-hmm.
What are some personal things they need to set up for themselves before they even take that step, that leap forward? What are some things they need to have in place as far as like financial stability?
Well, when you first graduate college, you don't have any money,
Okay.
right?
Some people.
Well, some people do, but nobody I knew had any money.
They were broke, huh?
Yeah, when I tell my brother, you're broke, you're poor.
Right.
You got to work your way out of that. And he's, and I think it's a rite of passage. I was broke. I moved back. My parents let each one of us move back into the house for 1 year. Okay. And in that year, that's where we could save up money, kind of get our feet wet in our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a year, we had to move on. And after a year, of course, I was ready to move on. I got an apartment. I think unless you have had that entrepreneurial spirit from the get-go, meaning when you were in college, you were out there making T-shirts and selling them. You were out there hustling as a landscaper. And this started when you were in high school and you were going through the neighborhood. Can I paint numbers on your driveway so people can find you? Unless you've had that entrepreneurial spirit from the get-go,
Mm-hmm.
which I did not, I would suggest you go get that corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, you're probably not even thinking about a corporate job.
Right.
You're probably thinking about, I got to do this on my own. Well, maybe one of those hustles you were doing in high school is going to turn into your business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I think if you've got that entrepreneurial spirit, you've been studying that piece that you want to get into while you were in college,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you didn't go to college, which is fine, you're being mentored by somebody who's in that field,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And one of the things I had told Terry about when I had my job in retailing, so they paid me a wage, and it was a cheap one. And then it was so cheap they realized everybody else they were hiring was coming in higher, so they gave me a raise, when in fact they were just taking me up to the new minimum.
Right.
But I thought I was a star, right? But as my career grew and as I progressed, whenever they gave me a raise, I banked that money. So let's say they started me at 20,000 as a number, and then I got to 30,000. I never paid myself more than the 20.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I just banked the 10, and which one year maybe was 10, next year maybe it was 12, then it was up to 15, and I banked all of that. And that's what gave me the framework to then be able to go out on my own. But you got to have the discipline to put the money aside. And I was just reading a news article about the state of finances in the United States, and you got to be in the stock market. Since most companies in my day, companies had retirement plans, they don't have those anymore, right? They have 401ks, which if your company offers one and they do matching, you want to get into that because that's money that they're giving you. As you give, they give, and it builds. And you got to be in the stock market. So you don't have to go in and be the one to pick the stocks because most of us start off not knowing a thing about the stock market. So you don't want to be picking stocks when you know nothing. But there are things like mutual funds, which focus on an industry, but they pick from this company and that company and this company and that company. So you're not dependent on one that might sink or swim. Mm-hmm. But you have to be responsible for your own wealth and wealth building. So you have to save, because people will be like, I need every penny. Well, we all need every penny, right? But you got to take 10% and you got to go put it someplace that you can't touch.
So, did you put yourself like in a separate checking account, or high yield savings account? Like, how did you?
So what I did at work, I had the brokerage account.
Okay.
Take it straight out of my paycheck.
Gotcha. Okay.
Straight out of my paycheck.
Smart.
Yeah. So I didn't touch it, and then you get used to this is what your pay is. This is what your pay is. This is not. That's it. It doesn't go in, and then I got to decide. This month am I going to take it out?
Right.
And there were times when I really could have used the money. Really could have used the money, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't put my hands on it, which turned out to be a good thing, even though it was uncomfortable at the time. So yeah, I would suggest having it taken out before you can turn it on.
Okay. Well, I'm grateful that you found time in your retirement schedule to do this interview.
Terry knows I would always do this for her.
Yes, ma'am. And I like your shirt.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of swagged out.
I know. Flock Theory, isn't it gorgeous?
Absolutely.
Yes. I know. I love it. Thank you.
So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you being so open and transparent, and I hope our listeners are able to get something out of what you've shared, because you've heard it from the horse's mouth. She figured her life out completely, and she kept it going, even through retirement. And that's how we want to set the standard. So we encourage you guys to stay tuned, because we got a lot more coming your way, and we thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay.